Welcome back, Zoo Crew. It's day 15. We're halfway to 30 days. And I want to just take a moment and welcome all of our new subscribers. So I ended up sharing the link to this page to my Instagram, and I've been posting the clips. So those of you who just joined me from the Instagram, I'm glad to have you here. And honestly, like it was pretty scary for me to like put myself out there, especially like because I'm just exposing my whole life and like my truth. But I guess today we could talk about kind of my like whole journey and like kind of what I've gone through to get to here, right? Um, so as a kid, I've always been very quiet, very much like introverted to the point where apparently like when I was in kindergarten, the teacher called my parents in and was like, "Yo, like there might be something wrong with your kid. Like, why doesn't he talk? Like anytime he has to say something, like he'll come and whisper in my ear." Um, yeah. And then I guess in like grade 2 or 3, like I told my mom, I was like, "Yo, I feel like I might have ADHD. Like, can you get me tested?" And then like Desi culture, Pakistani parents, like it's super like taboo because like the parents are like, "Oh, there must be something wrong with me if my kid has some kind of an issue, right?" And like the crazy shit in all of this is she told me like, yeah, no, I had you tested. There's nothing wrong with you. And then like fast forward to like when I moved to Winnipeg and like hit 30 and then my life imploded and I had like a full nervous breakdown. Then sure enough, I found out like, yeah, I do have ADHD, right? And the only reason I was able to like brute force my way through like elementary school, high school, university, etc., like without learning how to study and like without doing homework ever, is because like I fall into this category called 2E, right? So it's twice exceptional. So it means I'm gifted, but I also have a learning disability. And I guess my parents didn't really care or like think there was any like priority to like make sure I was taken care of, right? My younger sister is gifted, so all of the attention pretty much went on her. And then also like my older sister, right? So me being the middle child, like I've always been like the forgotten kid, right? And so like even growing up, like my mom would sit us all down and like be helping with homework. So she'd obviously help my like older sister first, then my younger sister, and then at the end, like it would be like, okay, let me help Manzoor. And like because I had ADHD, like I would struggle a lot, and I guess she would just get like frustrated, and then she would just end up doing my homework for me, right? So really, it's like crazy to think about this. Like I really had no business like going to Ashbury or like even university. Like I shouldn't have been in any of these places, right? But yeah, it is what it is. So that's like the beginning, I guess, of the journey. And then even like throughout high school or even like growing up, like as a kid, like I was always surrounded by like business, right? So like initially, like I'd be like wherever my dad was, like following him around, like working in this convenience stores when like that used to be his business model, etc. And then like it got to a point where like he would just drop me off with like one of my uncles because like all of my uncles had convenience stores back in the day too, right? Pretty much because like my dad got them all set up and was like, yo, this is like the business model right now, like everybody do this, right? And yeah, so I mean, he would just like drop me off and I'd be like with one uncle, or like he'd drop me off and I'd be with a different uncle. And like it's annoying because I didn't really have a childhood. Like I was never allowed to be a kid, right? Um, and I mean, like there's pros and cons to it. Like it's cool because like I got so much life experience at a young age and like exposed to business and like making money and like all of these different things, right? But like I would have enjoyed being a kid. Like it would have been nice to have like a regular childhood, right? So yeah, anyways, like I always kind of knew that whatever I would end up doing would be some kind of form of entrepreneurship. I just didn't really know what. And like the more I kind of spent like in school, the more I realized like whatever I want to do in life, like I'm not gonna learn it in school. Like even my dad, like he has a degree in like some kind of science or something from like Pakistan, and then he came here and like didn't use his degree at all. So and like that's the other thing. It's like everyone in my whole like family is like very much educated. Like my sisters all have multiple degrees. My younger brother has multiple degrees. Like they're all very much like educated. I'm like the only one who like didn't graduate university, you know? Um, but there was a point to this. It's been a long day. This really has been a long 15 days. you know? But yeah, I guess the whole point was I kind of realized like watching him like never use his degree that it was like, okay, well, like school isn't really gonna benefit me. Plus, like school wasn't really like designed for somebody like me, you know? Um, I feel like I learn more by like doing or like finding something I'm interested in and then going like learning about it and then like attempting to like build it or create it, right? And in terms of business, like you're not gonna learn that in school, right? So yeah, in terms of like my adult life, like learning how to be like a real adult, way, way behind, right? But in terms of like business, economics, investing, money, finance, like these kind of things, like I'm way, way ahead of most people, right? The only thing is, it's like, so I learned all of this stuff people would learn later in life, earlier in life, and then the stuff that I should have learned early in life, I never learned, right? And then again, like because both of my parents are like very narcissistic, everything was like about them, right? So even now, like they get like annoyed or like I guess they resent me for being dependent on them, but they literally like raised me to be dependent on them, right? So it's like everything was done for me, and then like I was never taught any skills. And then when I can't do something, like they get mad at me for not knowing how to do it. And it's like, well, you never taught me how to do it. Like you just expect me to know how to do this shit, you know? And the crazy part is like it got to a point where like my knowledge about real estate investing like far surpassed my dad's, right? And like my dad is successful, but a lot of that is like right place, right time, right? Like uh Canadian economy and like real estate when he got started was very different than what it is now, right? So anybody in our generation, like the rule book is completely different. Like the whole game changed, right? And like anybody who got started when he got started, like you really didn't have to be smart. Like you just had to buy something and hold it. You know, and it wasn't like rocket science. So like anybody who didn't really become successful like back in the day, like 1980s, like if you got started in the 1980s and like you didn't become successful, like sucks to suck, but you're probably not that smart, right? Because when it comes to investing, like my dad, I would say is probably like grade three, and like I'm probably PhD level, which is nuts because like he wouldn't ever listen to me. And then years later or like decades later, he would find out like whatever I was telling him was like the reality, right? Um, but yeah, so I mean, fast forward to university days, 20, so like first year, second year, third year, like I was pretty much just like very much struggling, and then figured like, okay, well, I might as well just spend my time like hanging out and like socializing because I'm not gonna learn how to make money here anyways, right? Like all of these people who are here, like, they don't even know why they're here. Most people go to university. Why? Because they want to get a degree. Why do they want to get a degree? So they can get a job. Why do they want to have like this specialized high paying job so they can make money? So it's like if your end goal is to make money, figure out how to make money, right? It's like people again, like this is what I mean. Like people don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to think. Like everybody just goes to university thinking, oh, this is like the solution, you know? And then like 40 years later, 30 years later, they have like a midlife crisis because yeah, like they were sold a dream. And in terms of like being sold a dream, this is a good segue, right? So my whole life I was told, yeah, I built this business and like I'm training you so one day you can like run the whole show. And it was all a lie, right? And I knew it too. So this is why like I would always try and like leave the family business or like do my own thing, right? Um, but yeah, let's pause here because we kind of got ahead of ourselves. So while I was in high school, like grade 11, grade 12, I used to work front desk at my dad's motel. And then same thing while I was in university, I was working for my dad. So like literally my whole life was spent working for my dad, right? And then like all of my like prime years to be working like in a real job or for myself, I gave to him thinking like, okay, well, like I'm helping him build this business, I'm helping him manage this business while he's like off in Pakistan having affairs and shit. um but yeah, so like I believed him that like yeah, like he's building this and like training me and like I'll just put up with all of this like crazy toxic bullshit and like the lies and the chaos and the control and the manipulation because like eventually this will become mine, you know? And I always knew it wouldn't happen. And then sure enough, like it didn't happen, right? Like he literally pulled the rug out from under my feet, ended up selling the business. Didn't even like tell me he was selling the business, was telling me, oh, like you don't need to come for the next 3, 4 weeks to make sure I wouldn't find out what he was doing, right? And then I realized like it's just like he's so insecure that like he has jealousy towards me and like my siblings, but like more so me because like I spent so much time with him, right? And like I guess he could see all of the things he wasn't able to do that I was like able to do, or like my own issues that I overcame, and then like it bothered him so much, and like he wanted to make sure that I would never surpass him, which is fucked, right? Like, but that's how like insecure and narcissistic he is. um to the point where like when I was 21, like I put together a deal in Chicago for 331 units, and I literally would have passed him in one shot, and like he would have never been able to catch up to me. And obviously what did he do? He blew up the whole deal, right? And then was like talking down to me, gaslighting me, telling me like, oh, like this doesn't work like that, blah 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 blah, you know. And like this is the other thing about him, he's very selective memory, right? So things that like benefit his case, or like things from the past that like benefit whatever like story he's trying to create, he'll remember. But then things that kind of prove that he's full of shit, or a bad person, magically he doesn't remember, right? So it's like, oh, you're such a smart person and like you created all of this, but then where did your intelligence go all of a sudden when I'm trying to keep you accountable, you know? So yeah. um and I guess we can talk about like the whole story of like in the middle, right? So I realized like I don't want to be a part of this family, and like my dad is not a good person. So I literally packed my bags, ran away from home, and then had to drop out of university because obviously like I couldn't make money and go to school and like manage all of this shit, you know? So I dropped out, applied for a bunch of jobs, couldn't get a job anywhere because people were like, "Yo, you're like in university, but you don't have any like work experience outside of working for your dad." And like when you work in a family business and you try to apply somewhere else, people don't consider that like work experience, right? And then again, it's like even outside of this, like if I was to go and like raise capital or like try to invest in something, people would like, I guess the block in my head was like, if my own dad doesn't believe in me and like want to invest in me, why would anyone else want to invest in me, right? And then plus like if like it come like if somebody knows me or like my family and like my dad and shit, automatically they'll be like, yeah, okay, it must not be a good idea. Like otherwise his dad would have invested with him, you know? But yeah, and the crazy thing is like he would like in terms of that Chicago deal, had he like taken a bet on me, he would have got his money back within like 30 days and I would have been set for life. Instead, he gave it to his siblings who blew it up, right? And then obviously didn't get it back. And like he still gets manipulated by all of his family and doesn't realize that they're just using him for money. And like they're so scared of him and like so addicted to like this comfort that they'll just let him get away with whatever just because they want to have a piece of like whatever he built, you know? Like a bunch of pathetic losers, really. And if they're watching this, like I really don't care. Like it is what it is. You guys know this is the truth. It's just you're too like weak and insecure to accept the reality of who you are, right? Um yeah, and I mean I have no hard feelings. I don't blame you. Like you guys grew up however you grew up. It's just like don't pretend to be righteous people or like good Muslims and like this is what you're doing, you know? And like I'm like to the point where I don't even care anymore and like I've given it to like God's hands. So God sees what these people did or didn't do and he'll judge them on the day of judgment. Like it's out of my hands, you know? Uh yeah. So y'all better repent and change your ways, or I mean don't, you know, live terrible lives, keep getting sick and like have God curse you with diseases and shit, you know. There's a reason all of these people have such empty lives and like poor existences, you know. um yeah, but yeah, so we keep getting way off track. So like this is what I mean, like I've done so much random shit in my life. So okay, I ended up dropping out, then I became a barber. And then like my dad is like a very abusive person, right? So like I felt bad for my mom, my sister, and my younger brother. So then I went back home, and like plus like my mom was secretly like supporting me financially, right? So I went back. I shouldn't have gone back. I should have just left these people and just let them all figure it out on their own, right? But it's like I have a kind heart and I felt guilty. And like the whole culture of like being Muslim, Pakistani, it's like you have to like take care of your parents and your elders and shit. But like the parents missed the part, like their children have rights too, you know? So it's like if you're not giving your children their rights, like don't expect them to honor you or give you any rights, right? So yeah, I dropped out, did that. Then they played this whole game to make me quit that job just because it was like, oh, we sent you to Ashbury not so you could become like a barber. And like, again, it was all their own like ego and like perception. Like, what will people in the community think, you know? And in those days, like, so I went from like not having to worry about money to like not even having a dollar to my name, right? But those were some of the most peaceful, happy times in my life, you know? Obviously, I couldn't sustain it, but it is what it is, you know? Then again, like I got pulled into the family business, and then like I knew this was all like a game, right? Uh, like to the point where like they literally made me quit being a barber, sent me to Niagara Falls, being like, "Yeah, we're gonna buy this hotel and like you're gonna run it." Obviously, they didn't do that. It was just a game to get me to quit being a barber because of their ego. And then pulled me back into the family business again, like brainwashed me, told me like, "Yeah, this is eventually gonna be yours. Like you have to be here." Blah 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 blah. And then like again we're like, oh, like, you have to go to university, like nobody's gonna marry you, blah 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 blah. So again I went like, actually no, that happened later. Okay, so I came back in the family business, then I started a property management company because I was already managing the properties. So it's like, well, let me put my logos up, let me just like use this as leverage to like get other people to let me manage their properties. But then again, of course my dad was like, no, you're not going to manage this stuff, you're not going to like do this, that, or the other thing. So I just shut it down again, you know. And like I bought so many different courses from so many different fucking online gurus. And like, don't get me wrong, some of the info was good. You know, I've tried so many different things and like so many different courses to just try and like find a way to make money so I could get out of this situation and not be like dependent on my dad. Um, you know, and I guess it was a blessing in disguise because that's how I came across Stefan. And then like everyone I met through Stefan, like Damon, Marlou, etc. You know, so yeah, did that, didn't go anywhere, obviously. Then Um, went back to university while working for my dad. Had an idea for this store, which was Arcadia. Dropped out to do that. So, and again, like he was like, "Yeah, I'll help you do this," blah blah blah. And like at that point, my parents were going through their separation, so they were fighting. And like this dude was literally sending like emails to the whole community and like other people just like making up bullshit about me and like talking about me. And I'm like, bruh, like I have nothing to do with this. Like if you guys are having your fight, like why are you pulling me in the middle and like throwing my name in the ground, you know? And I'm literally the one who put these guys back together. I'm the one who put the whole family back together. I'm the one who like literally kept this shit from falling apart, you know? And like when that was happening, that was like 2016, and that's when majority of my hair went gray. And like I literally sacrificed again my prime years to make sure my younger sister, younger brother, and mom were taken care of, right? So yeah, like I tried to set up this store. He like again was like dangling a little bit of support with delay support and like just make sure that he was like destabilizing my plans instead of actually supporting me and making sure the business was successful, which he totally could have done, right? And then in the middle, like I ended up like inheriting this freaking music school from the basement. And like that's another thing, like he ended up like playing some game there. So now like when I took over this business, like there was no money there, so now like we were running in a deficit. I still managed to clean up the whole thing, and like that school still exists, right? And he's like doing very good business. So that's what I mean, right? And then again, like I got out of that like barbershop clothing store just because it was like a lot of time. And then like my mom was pressuring me, like, yo, bro, you're not paying me rent and you're like using this space and it's like a prime location real estate building, right? And I mean fair, but like at the same time, like if my dad had actually helped me build that business, like it would have been something, right? And that's like the key theme in my life is I'm realizing like all of these different business ideas I've had, like he totally could have helped me and all of them would have been successful or any one of them could have been successful, but he chose not to, right? And like kept selling me this dream of, yeah, eventually this will be yours, eventually this will be yours, even though he knew he would never give it to me, you know? Because he just, one, I guess, didn't trust my judgment, or like two, thought I'm just some like dumbass. Which is hilarious because like the last like big building he bought, I showed it to him and told him to buy it, and he was like, no, it's not a good deal. And then of course like his younger brother comes along, shows him the same thing, and he's like, oh wow, such a great deal, and then went and bought it, you know, like bunch of fucking idiots. So yeah, okay, so that happened, and then shut that down, and that's like that story ends, right? Then again came back into the family business. Then like he literally had me train my younger sister and then pretty much pushed me out of the business. And I mean, it's fine. Like if anyone was gonna replace me, I'd rather it be my sister than like some random bozo or like one of my cousins or like one of my uncles, right? But yeah, like it's such a fucked up situation. And then post hotel sale, um, I didn't know what to do, right? So no, okay, initially like I met Stefan, I signed up for coaching, and then of course my dad backed out in the last minute. After like the first quarter, it was supposed to be 12-month program. I did like the first quarter of it, so and then he backed out and played all these games or whatever, right? And then so that didn't go anywhere. And then hotel sold. Then Damon reached out and was like, he was resurrecting black cards. So I got involved with black card as like a black diamond license. I was selling coaching. I was making good money. I had status. Like it was like by all accounts, like I had made it. I reached the peak or what I thought was the peak. And shout out to Damon, like this guy gave me a huge opportunity, and like me and him, like we ran it up. Like the black card era when like me and Damon were like running the show, nobody even comes close to touching that. And in terms of like the Canadian real estate investing community, like we were the top dogs. And like when I guess like when we exited black card, like it left a huge void, and now you have all these like little clown dudes coming in like trying to be something they're not. But that's like a whole other story. I'll probably do a video one day like exposing or like talking about this whole like real estate investing guru business in Canada and like all of these pretenders who think they like know what they're doing, but it's really just the blind leading the blind. Like it's somebody on step 3 telling somebody how to do step 1 and 2. They don't know what step 10 is, and then they just implode and all their students implode. Yeah, so went to Winnipeg, had a full nervous breakdown, came back, was like in a severe like depression, like zombie type state, from pretty much 20 well, when I came back from Winnipeg until like almost 2024. So like 2 years, almost 2 3 years of my life just gone like that. And all of that was because they didn't want me to like live on my own in the city and were like, go to Winnipeg if you want to move out. And I mean, like, it is what it is. Like, I had fun in Winnipeg. It was cool. It was a good opportunity. Uh, like, I'm not scared of opportunities, so like, I will go try things, and that's how I learn, and like, that's why I have so many cool stories, and that's why I've like been able to do so many things, right? But yeah, so then I started this marketing company, and again, the whole time he'd be asking me questions, trying to like poke holes in it, or like prove to me that I don't know what I'm doing, or like it's gonna fail, and then again, like wouldn't really support me, right? And like that's the thing I'm realizing now is like, yeah, well, like at least you didn't suffer financially. And it's like I did suffer financially, and you guys have kept me suffering financially like my whole life. But you guys are so twisted that you think you haven't. And then to the point where like when I was leaving, they were like, "Oh, well, you could have just left at any time." It's like, how could I have left at any time? Like I was dependent on you for income. Your mood would change, and then you would just like reduce my income or just decide like I didn't need income, and then make sure you weren't paying me enough so that I could live on my own or like have my own life or get married, right? And it was all about control and like, yeah, you know. So there's a lot of these things that I'm realizing now as life goes on, you know but I'm at peace, because it made me who I am, and I know like the reality of who these people are now, and like it's just sad. Like I feel bad for them, but at the same time, it's like it's not my problem. Like if you don't want to save yourself, like nobody can save you, right? So yeah, I mean the marketing company, I put it on pause, and then that's when I met Mina, and then like my whole life kind of became about her, and I mean it's not bad. I think it's like she was helping me become independent to the point where like I guess my parents started to fear her. And like it's only because of her that I was able to like do OMVIC in like a weekend, get my license, go and apply and like get a car sales job. Like I would have never done that if it wasn't for her, and like her motivating me and like helping me to do it and like explaining like, yo, it's fine. Like you can just get a job and then build your business. And then of course, like my parents played this whole freaking game, like, oh yeah, we're looking to buy this retirement home, or like, oh yeah, we'll help you like open a dealership, and then like they were planting these seeds because they know I'm like a very like hopeful person and like I will believe them. So like I ended up quitting the job, right? And then outside of that, like also I was thinking like, okay, well I'll quit the job and like get my real estate license and like I'd be a kick-ass realtor. And then my dad was just like, oh, let me just destabilize this dude and like cut his support, right? So I mean, it's my own fault. Like I shouldn't have been depending on him for income anyways, given that I knew how he was. But it's hard to accept that like your parents are bad people or like your parents will go out of their way to like abuse you and like sacrifice your life for their life, right? And like even to this day, like my mom sacrificed her kids' lives for her own life, but like she thinks she like sacrificed her life for us. And it's like you didn't. Like you're still protecting this guy who literally destroyed all of our lives because you're too weak and like afraid to stand up for yourself and for your kids. And I mean, I don't blame her. Like she's gone through a ton of trauma, and like my dad is a very like vindictive, petty like person, you know? Like he mentally was breaking me for my whole life, and like I'm a strong person, so I get it, right? But it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, the journey is one that kind of never ends. And I guess the thing is, like even now, like I told my parent, like I found a way to like get an MBA without an undergrad, right? And then they're like, oh, well, you don't need to go to school. So it's like, okay, cool. Like you guys really don't want me to ever succeed, right? I could have even just got like a regular undergrad, but no, you know, like now it's like, no, that chapter's closed. Like it's too late. You can't go now. And it's like, well, had you got me tested with like for ADHD back when I asked and I was a kid, I probably would have finished school and had the degree at least, you know? But yeah, so like I have no job, no income, no savings, 50K in debt, no support from my parents, and then like no degree, right? So like the only thing I actually have is like this license for Omvic. And then like to get the real estate license, like at least 6 months, right? So they purposely did all this, I guess, and that's why I think they were like sabotaging my relationship with Mina because they realized like shit, like we're gonna lose control and like she's the kind of person like she would not take shit from them. So like if they like were abusing me or like tried to, she would have been the person to like put them in their place, you know? Um so I'm blessed to have that in my life. Finally like somebody who's like gonna protect me. But then that also makes me like think like about like how most husbands like you're supposed to protect your wife, right? Especially like from your in-laws and like this kind of stuff. Like it's on you. Like this person chose to like be with you, you know? And like obviously that's not what my dad does. Instead, he would like join his in-laws and like gang up on my mom, you know? So a bunch of crazy shit. Oh, my days. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey. This is like the condensed Coles Notes version of my life journey. And I don't want to just say it was all bad, like, or that I'm like a victim or anything. Like, it is what it is. I allowed this to happen to me. I chose this life, you know? And looking forward, like, life is full of opportunity and possibilities, you know? So it's like, yeah, I'm in a bad position, but it's like, could be worse. And now this time when like I get to where I know I was destined to be, I'll know I did it on my own without anybody's help and like nobody can ever take that away from me, right? Because even like anything that I would have accomplished or like became successful in throughout my life, the credit would always go to him or like be like, oh well, like you had support or like you come from like a wealthy family, so like you know, and just completely discrediting my skill and my ability, right? And honestly, I think my biggest mistake was quitting that job at the dealership, especially because I was a high volume store. There was cool people working there. Like my sales manager was like a dope dude. You know, um, yeah. I mean, that was probably my biggest mistake, but it is what it is. You know, no regrets. Keep moving forward. And yeah, now honestly, I think like I'm at a point where I'm probably just gonna start driving Uber. And this is something I would have never done because it's like my parents like brainwashed me so much. It's like, oh, you can't start at the bottom, or like we didn't send you here, and like all of this like stupid shit. It's like, oh, what will people think? And it's like I don't care, man. I don't care what people think. You worry about what they think, you know. And then the rest of my time I'll spend building my business. And I gotta really like buckle down and start building this out, you know. But yeah, What a life, you know? If you've made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. If you're new here, we're just getting started, you know? This is my anime training arc, and I'm excited to see where I end up in 90 days. But yeah, that's day 15, Zoo Crew. We'll see y'all tomorrow.